Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Today's video, I just want to go over my own experience at Ironman 70.3 Oceanside, which happened last Saturday. It's currently Monday, so I had about a day or so to reflect. So let's get into it. Before we get started with the video though, I do want to say thank you like twice. Once for how well received my last video was, which covered a couple tips about the 70.3 Oceanside race course. And then also thank you to, of course, all the volunteers that were on the course as well last Saturday. Without all the volunteers, without all you, it would not be possible for Ironman to put on these races. So as always, Oceanside, from like an atmosphere and from like a race perspective, an experience, it was great. So thank you everyone for that, everyone who volunteered, all the people that were there on the sidelines and cheering and playing music and everything. And really, that's the great thing about Oceanside. The run course is just very spectator friendly and heavy, so it makes it really great. But that's enough of that. Let's cover my 70.3 experience. To get it out of the way right from the start, overall, my results is not great. I'm not very happy with it. It was 6 hours and 50 minutes. But let's break it down on what went wrong and where things started to go wrong. First, as always, just like every year, we arrived at Oceanside on Friday. We checked in, we set up our bikes and everything, and there was no issue with that. It's always a very, very smooth experience at Oceanside. And it's always great. It's very, very easy. The first thing we noticed though is that the weather was a little chilly. Though it wasn't supposed to rain, and at that point the sun was out, it was a little colder than usual, but the winds were very, very extreme. So when we set up our bikes in transition, the volunteer actually told us that we had to rack our bikes, instead of by the saddle, what you usually do, rack it by the handlebars, because they were expecting winds of up to 50 miles an hour that night, so that the bikes don't go flying. We had to re-rack them a different way, which was interesting because that already tells you where I'm going with this. So here comes race morning. Everything goes as planned. Coffee, breakfast, everything great. We get down to the start line, no issue. Transition, no issue. We set up, we change. The gun goes off, the pros, we see them go, the male, the female, and then the amateurs, us, we get in the water. Overall, the swim was great. There was nothing spectacular about it. Because of the weather, they put the swim again in the harbor instead of in the open water, because of the waves and the breaks. But swim 35 minutes, nothing spectacular. I could have been a little faster, but I finally got the true Ironman swim experience. So when I caught up to another pack further up on the course and the swim, I found myself in between 4 different guys, and I finally got kicked in the face for the first time, and I lost my goggles. So I was able to hold on to them, but I had to reposition my goggles, get the water out, get myself together again, and keep going. However, 35 minutes, the swim was just on par with everything else. With all the other years, it's really always 35 minutes. Nothing crazy here. The bike, it was colder than usual. I think at that point when we got on the bike, it was probably around 45 degrees or so in the morning. So it was a little chilly, but overall not too bad. On the bike, I had my 2 water bottles, 80 grams of carbohydrates in each bottle. It seemed to be working pretty well. However, I wasn't planning on spending so long on the bike, so I ran out of those bottles a little sooner than expected, so I had to chuck one and switch it out for a Gatorade once I emptied it. Energy wise, I felt fine, but then at mile 20 it all came down. Starting at mile 20 all the way back to the base at mile 56 back to transition, I mean, it was a massive headwind. The whole time we had a headwind, and it cost me to overbike quite a bit, and I put quite a bit into the bike, and it still ended up taking me like 3 hours and 11 minutes, which is about a half hour slower than what I was anticipating and what I was like calculating for with my nutrition. I still think energy wise I did fine. I should have consumed more electrolytes, but overall I extremely overbiked, and it caused my muscles to really cramp up starting at mile 36 or so. So that was something I knew was going to be an issue later on. So I got the bike ride done, got back into T2, and this time the transition took me about 5 minutes or so, which is quite on track with what I usually do. 5 minutes for Oceanside is, and about 3 to 4 minutes for everything else. It's relatively good for me. T2 is always the time when I use the bathroom, the one time I have to on the course, so it always takes a little bit longer. But overall, it was very smooth. I got in, took my bike gear off, put my head on, and ran out. Well, my shoes as well, duh. But just about a half mile out of T2, my quads just shot, absolutely shot. It was an absolute cramp fest. And for the next 2 miles, I was pretty much just like wobbling before I semi got my legs back. And at that point, I kind of mentally knew it was over. I can make it under 7 hours, that I knew. But every time I try to pick up a little bit of pace, my legs just cramped and cramped. I tried to counter it with some salt and with enough electrolytes and fluids, and I was very, very hydrated on the course, and given it also wasn't very hot. But I think the overbiking really, that was the main issue. There was nothing left in my legs to really run the half marathon. So the half marathon ended up taking me like 2 hours and 41 minutes, I believe. So absolutely wrecked me there. I believe it was close to a 13-minute mile for the 13.1 mile. And that is it. That really concludes Oceanside. Right now I am absolutely sore. I have not been this sore in quite a long time. Even tried a spin out session this morning to just maybe get a little bit moving, but my legs are absolutely shot. So here are my takeaways for what I need to improve and what I'm going to change moving forward. I think, and that is something I wish maybe the Motive app would do a little bit different. I will still continue using the Motive app because overall I think the pros by far outweigh the negatives or the shortcomings in that sense of the app. But I wish you could put a focus on one discipline in that app. My swim, I'm fine with where I'm at. I'm not looking to go down to 30 minutes. That 5 minutes is not helping me. My bike, I have now been consistently getting it at 2 hours and 40, 2 hours and 50. So now I can do it under 3 hours. And I'm fine with it. However, I have not gotten my half marathon time in even close to 2 hours and 15, for example. So I know I can shave so much time off if I just get the run right. So I wish in the app you could focus on your shortcomings, which in my case is the run. So I will play around with the schedule and with the times to just get more workouts added onto it. But right now, before prepping for Oceanside, I had 2 runs per week, which was not much. So now I'll try and get like 3 runs at the very least in, and maybe I'll start adding on some bonus runs. And in addition to that, I will also start adding strength training specifically for my lower body back in, which I have not done as well. So I played with the schedule in the Motive app. I ramped the hours up to just get the option of putting more workouts on the schedule. And then I just deleted the ones out that I don't want to focus on. So I'm hoping that maybe overall my hours won't go up too much, but now I have an extra run in there, and then I will also put the strength training in there. So we'll see how that goes. The next thing on the schedule, I am still debating on doing the sprint triathlon in October. For sure, the trail half marathon in November, and then very likely Indian Wells at the end of this year as well. But this is it. Thank you very much. It wasn't really much information in it. If you're interested in my race recap, here you had it. I hope you took something away from it. Again, thank you so much for all the good feedback and the thumbs up and the shares for the last video with the tips for Oceanside. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking to do something similar for each of the races. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I'll catch you in the next one.